This anime's name is Chibi Devil, where a devil baby is adopted by humans. The story begins with Honoka Sawada, a 14-year-old girl, gets bullied by her classmates all the time. She doesn't have many friends, and her family isn't home much, so she feels lonely all the time. One night, while she's crying herself to sleep, a strange baby with devil-like features appears in her bed. When she awakes, she acts like she didn't see the baby and covers it with a blanket, but when it starts crying, Honoka plays peekaboo with it, and it calms down. Suddenly, the baby starts acting strange and ends up pooping on the bed. While changing the baby's diaper, she realizes it's a boy, and he has a devil tail accessory. His name appears to be Mao, written on his bib. He gets hungry and cries for milk, so Honoka decides to take him to the store and buy some milk, and puts him in a cute dragon outfit. While they're walking, they see two bullies from school. The bullies ask if Honoka is skipping school and make a deal with her. They won't tell the teacher if she does their cleaning chores for a month. Honoka starts crying, and seeing her upset, Mao breathes fire to scare the bullies away. Now, she gives the cute baby some milk. He falls asleep once his tummy is full, making him look even more adorable. She then decides to call up her friend Kyu to ask him what to do with Mao. Meanwhile, some people in another world wonder about leaving their baby in the hands of a girl who cries nearly every minute. Shortly afterwards, Kyu comes to visit Honoka's house with his friend Shin, who rages about absolutely everything. Shin gets all pissed about Honoka ditching school and not giving a better explanation for the baby appearing out of the sky, which makes her cry. This angers Mao, and he attacks Shin with flames. The trio examine the baby, and he has earwings and a devil tail. Shin pulls his ears to check if they're real, causing the baby to start crying. He grabs him and tries to calm him down, but accidentally scares him, making him cry even more. Honoka takes Mao away and holds him in her arms, and the baby starts smiling. Before they can examine the baby closer, Kyu decides to ditch Honoka to watch anime and rushes off. Honoka and Shin rush after Kyu to stop him. Meanwhile, the baby's escaped and is crawling around on the streets. Honoka and Shin start searching for Mao while he wanders the streets. He enters a park, crawls through a seesaw, and climbs up to the top of the slide. He slides down and approaches a woman sitting nearby. As the woman walks away, Mao peeks out from her bag. When Honoka and Shin arrive at the park, they can't find Mao anywhere, and Honoka starts crying, worried about his safety. Shin tells her not to lose hope and that he'll definitely find him. Meanwhile, Mao is looking at a picture book after coming out of the bag, while Honoka and Shin are still searching for him. Suddenly, they hear a noise and rush towards it. People are shocked to see a baby appearing out of nowhere. As they enter a door, they spot Mao walking towards a window and falling into a nearby cat, startling it. The cat runs off while carrying him on its back. It jumps onto the roof, where Mao falls off its back, getting stuck up there. He starts missing Honoka and sees a bunch of flowers in a tree, reminding him of her as she always wears a flower clip. So Mao starts moving towards the flowers. Shin and Honoka spot Mao just as he slips and falls off the roof. They're shocked, but someone suddenly saved Mao, a weird man with a mustache. The man jumps off the wall and falls to the ground, holding Mao safely. Honoka is happy to have Mao back, and after saving the baby, the man tells Honoka and Shin to follow him, where he'll reveal Mao's secrets. Apparently, the man runs a devil nursery as the principal, and tells them that Mao is a devil baby. Hearing this, they imagine scary devils in their mind. Suddenly, Mao sneezes, and the principal says they should put some clothes on the baby, or he may catch a cold, and Mao looks very cute in the new outfit. Now, Shin asks the principal what they should do with this devil baby. The principal says they will take care of the baby, and Honoka thinks that Mao will live here from now on, but the principal tells her they can only look after it during the day, since it is a nursery. A person who finds a devil is bound to take care of them, so it's now Honoka's responsibility to take care of Mao during the night. She doesn't want to be Mao's mother, as she herself is so young, so the principal agrees to find a new family within a month's time. Until then, Mao will have to stay with Honoka, and she agrees. When she gets home, she finds Kyu, who's finally finished watching anime. Shin angrily shouts at him for leaving earlier. Later, Kyu tells Shin about Honoka's family circumstances. She lost her parents and now lives with her aunt, who's always at work and rarely comes home. She can't take care of Mao all alone, so Kyu suggests that Shin becomes Mao's dad because he himself is too busy watching anime. At night, Honoka puts a blanket on the baby and sleeps happily with him. The next day, Mao wakes Honoka up. Since Honoka is still a middle school student, she has to take Mao to daycare before going to school. She hands him over to the teacher, and after she leaves, Mao starts crying. When Hanoka returns later to pick him up, Mao begins crying again. He's mad at Hanoka for leaving him at the daycare. She tries to convince him it's fine, but he refuses to cooperate. Luckily, Shin visits her house to check on Mao. After knowing the whole situation, he comes up with an idea and lies down in Hanoka's lap, calling out to Mao. Seeing him on Hanoka's lap, the baby pushes Shin away and goes to cuddle with her on his own. And Shin's pleased that he managed to help Mao warm up to Hanoka again. Suddenly, the principal drops in to invite them to a type of get-together, so that they can get to meet other parents and their devil babies. So Shin and Hanoka attend the meetup with Mao and a dragon out. They meet two other girls with devil babies who are arguing and insulting each other's babies. One girl tells her baby to attack with ice, while the other tells her baby to use lightning. Both babies use their power, causing the principal to get caught in the crossfire and fall sick. As the girls continue to fight, the principal asks them to stop fighting and get along. Hanoka asks the principal how the babies were using ice and lightning, as well as about Mao's powers. The principal asks if Mao was wearing the same dragon costume when he breathed fire. And to test it, the principal tries to scare her, and Mao breathes fire on him. The principal then explains that the devil babies gain powers when they wear different costumes, and they can only use their powers when they feel like their mama is in danger. He demonstrates this by provoking the babies, and once again getting caught in the crossfire. Hanoka realizes that every time Mao breathed fire previously was because she was potentially in danger, which brings tears to her eyes, so she shows him love. Shin is inspired by Mao's protective nature, and says that he'll be the best father he can be. The next day, Shin surprises Hanoka by arriving at her home early in the morning. He says that from today onwards, he will fulfill all the duties as Mao's father. He then asks if she has had breakfast, and when she says no, Shin shouts at her to eat on time. Hanoka starts preparing breakfast with Mao at her back. She accidentally cuts her hand, and Shin rushes to her aid, telling her to disinfect the wound, but ends up putting her finger in his mouth, which makes Hanoka feel embarrassed. Shin then takes over cooking breakfast while Mao and Hanoka watch him. During breakfast, Hanoka wonders if Shin is upset because she is so clumsy, and Mao, seeing Hanoka feel down, feels sad himself. Later, she takes Mao to the nursery. The caretaker asks why she seems so down, and if anything happened. Hanoka says everything's okay. The principal appears from behind, and asks if she's concerned about parenting Mao. He tells the caretaker to give Hanoka the devil baby dictionary. She looks at it, and the principal says if she has any trouble with her devil baby, she can find the solution in the book. While the devil babies are annoying the principal by pulling his cheeks and breathing out snow and thunder at him. After school, Hanoka finds Shin near a bookstore, and asks what he's reading. Shin gets startled and yells at her, making her run away, thinking he's mad at her. In the evening, while playing with Mao, Hanoka is still worried about Shin. Mao successfully stacks some blocks and feels happy, but notices Hanoka is still sad. He climbs on her lap and tries to comfort her, but suddenly she starts crying, making Mao sad too. At night, Mao suddenly starts crying loudly. Hanoka checks him and finds out he has a terrible fever. Luckily, Shin comes back because he forgot something. Upon seeing him, Hanoka bursts into tears as she has no clue how to handle Mao's situation. Shin is unsure about taking a devil baby to a human hospital, so he decides to take the principal's advice, which reminds Hanoka of the book the principal gave her. It explains that devil babies can get fevers from too much stress, and can be cured by using their magic powers. So they try a simple method. Mao breathes fire, with Shin bravely enduring it. After that, Mao starts feeling better. Now Shin asks why Mao was so stressed out. Hanoka replies it might have been because she was feeling down as Shin was mad at her all the time. Shin says it's not like that. Hanoka then finds the item he'd lost, a book about being a good father. Shin gets embarrassed as he takes the book away. It's only after this Hanoka realizes that all the time Shin wasn't mad at her, and isn't bad-tempered. He was just as embarrassed about himself. As Hanoka and Shin make up, her aunt suddenly barges in, surprised to see Hanoka with a boy, and a baby so late at night. Fortunately, they come up with an effective excuse for Mao's presence, because they can't reveal the truth about the devil baby. While Mao is playing with the blocks, as Shin walks home, he realizes Hanoka is a very sad girl, and decides to make her happier. The next morning, Shin bursts into Hanoka's room, and wakes her up, saying he'll watch Mao, so Hanoka can make lunch for her aunt. Hanoka is confused by Shin's suggestion, so he explains if she's depressed all the time, that will make Mao sick, while improving her relationship with her aunt might be the best for both Hanoka and Mao. He then holds Mao in his hands, but he starts crying, making Shin think Mao might hate him. Meanwhile, Hanoka prepares the lunchbox. But when her aunt comes near, she gets so nervous that she doesn't give it to her, and her aunt leaves for work. Hanoka starts crying while Shin and Mao watch her. The next morning, Shin tries to play with Mao, but Mao cries loudly. Hanoka asks what he's doing, and Shin says he's trying to get Mao used to him. He then holds Mao, who's still crying. Hanoka is amazed to see that Mao seems to like Shin, but he won't give up on trying. On another day, Hanoka tries again with breakfast, but her aunt is too busy to eat and rushes off. Shin encourages Hanoka to share her feelings with her aunt. She tells her aunt that she feels lonely and wishes she could be home more often. Her aunt then happily agrees, making Hanoka happier as well. Hanoka happily runs towards Mao and holds him, saying she's so happy. She thanks Shin for his support, and as they both look so happy together, Mao also gets happy. The next day, Shin and Hanoka take Mao to daycare, and the principal says together they look more like a family. Shin says that Mao cries when he holds him, but when the caretaker hands Mao to Shin this time, he doesn't cry. Shin and Hanoka are pleasantly surprised to see that Mao's now accepting Shin. Shin looks at the Parents' Day poster and says it looks fun, but Hanoka seems worried because they have to practice with the others, and she's scared of what happened last time. Shin says everything will be fine. At the nursery, all the babies breathe fire, thunder, and snow at the principal. Then he introduces the devil babies and their parents, and leaves them alone. Hanoka asks if they're the only ones practicing, and he says yes. So the mothers can become friends too. Natsuki says they get to know each other better. The babies all wear cute new outfits, and practice starts. Shiori shows how to clap, Rai copies, and Corinne does too, while the babies follow their mom's leads, and they're praised for it. Mao wants the praise too, but when Hanoka says clap, he pats his legs instead. When she says to turn around, he rolls and wiggles his bum. Hanoka feels depressed, thinking he's doing everything wrong, but Natsuki says he'll probably learn with practice. Next, they have to practice with instruments. Hanoka instructs Mao, but while practicing, he always seems to be off, and she feels sorry for him. Shiori questions if Mao even listens to Hanoka, but Natsuki defends her. During the cleaning practice, Mao and Rai put toys in place, but Karen makes a mess. Her mother tries to stop her, and Shiori comments, "You spoiled your child," and an argument breaks out between them. Now they don't want to practice with each other, and Hanoko doesn't know what to do next. At home, Shin wonders if Hanoka is having fun at the Parents' Day practice. Suddenly, Hanoka appears crying and tells Shin what happened at the nursery. She then asks Mao to show Papa his dance too, but he just repeats the same steps from the nursery. But Shin bursts into laughter. He then holds Mao and says that it's Mao's charm, and the important thing for Mao is to enjoy Parents' Day. Hanoka feels like Mao should match everyone else, so they'll try again tomorrow. The next day, Natsuki stops Hanoka. She apologizes for her bad temper yesterday and asks to practice together. Hanoka happily agrees. Now, they see Shiori leaving her baby with the caretaker and avoiding them. Hanoka gets an idea and asks the principal for help. In the evening, they're all surprised to see their devil babies happily playing with each other. Hanoka suggests they follow the kids' example and practice together. Shiori gets angry, realizing it was Hanoka's idea. She still refuses to practice with them and takes away Rai, causing Mao and Karen to start crying. Natsuki tells Hanoka they can't change Shiori's mind. Rai's mother tells him to practice, but he looks at his friends and walks towards them. Despite his mother calling him back, he keeps going to his friends. Shiori realizes Rai wants to practice with the others, so she agrees for the sake of her baby's happiness, and the babies are happy to be together again. Finally, it's Parents' Day, and Hanoka is feeling down as Mao can't get his dance right, even after practicing a lot. So Shin tries to comfort her. Kyu joins in, saying he's here to see Mao's performance too. So Parents' Day begins, the babies are all dressed in their outfits, and the parents are excited. The principal initiates the program, the caretaker claps, and the babies start dancing. But Mao still doesn't match the other babies. Kyu comments that the dance truly shows off Mao's personality. Next, it's time to clean up, and Karen directs Mao and Rai to clean up for her, appearing bossy yet adorable. The parents react with surprise at the sight. The principal then introduces a surprise event. The babies will use magic to defeat a monster, but they target the principal instead, freezing him. And the parents just applaud their magical display anyway. Poor principal, always getting targeted. Now, the final event, the musical performance, begins. But Mao is still offbeat, and Hanoka starts crying, feeling he can't match the others. Suddenly, Shiori points out that Karen and Rai started playing in sync with Mao, creating a matching trio. Hanoka becomes happy witnessing this, and the babies have a great time together. After the event, Hanoka thanks them for helping Mao to sync while playing. Shiori says it's because Hanoka had them all play together, forging friendships that eventually helped Mao. Shin approaches and praises Mao for doing a great job. Observing the trio, Kyu comments that Hanoka and Shin look like actual parents. Natsuki teases them, as they seem like a couple, leaving Hanoka and Shin embarrassed. The next day is the nursery's sleepover day. Hanoka and Shin leave Mao there, and the principal assures them they need not worry, and can pick him up tomorrow. As they depart, Shin suggests going somewhere enjoyable since it's Hanoka's break from her motherly duties, and Hanoka wonders if it's a date. When it's pool time, the principal holds Mao and puts him in the water, but Mao starts crying as it's his first time in a pool. The principal playfully scares him, and Mao continues to cry. But the others are having fun, so Mao tries to enjoy it too. But when Karen sprays him with water, he cries again. Meanwhile, Hanoka and Shin are at the movie theater, and after their movie, Hanoka sees a baby and begins to worry about Mao's well-being, and hurries over there. At the nursery, his blocks get knocked down by a ball. Karen takes away Mao's car, and he spills his milk, leading to more tears. The caretaker comments that it seems like it's Mao's unlucky day. In the evening, Mao becomes happy, expecting his parents to pick him up, but the principal tells him that they won't be coming, so Mao starts crying. Hanoka and Shin, who are secretly watching, become concerned about him. Hanoka tries to go inside, but Shin stops her, saying Mao needs to learn to become strong and independent, so Hanoka agrees, and they leave the nursery. Meanwhile, Mao looks angry and stressed, wondering why his parents didn't come. At night, Hanoka misses Mao, and wonders if he's really okay. Meanwhile, at the nursery, the devil babies are dressed in new outfits for the night expedition. The principal explains the rules, and leaves them in the dark. The babies are a bit scared, but begin their expedition. Climbing the stairs, Karen and Mao get scared on seeing their own reflections in a mirror. Rai joins them after a while. With torches on their head, they crawl forward. Karen and Mao get scared again on encountering hanging diapers, but Rai remains unafraid. On moving forward, they get scared by toys, but Rai bravely holds a teddy. Suddenly, they get trapped, and only Rai remains unafraid, while the principal and caretakers watch them. Now a ghost appears in front of the babies, scaring them. Mao starts crying, but Karen protects him, and reminds him of his father, Shin. Encouraged by this, Mao starts punching the ghost, making it fall to the ground. The babies are happy, and the principal says that their friendship has grown stronger. The next day, Hanoka and Shin come to pick up Mao, who looks extremely happy. Shin holds Mao and says he seems to be fine. The principal tells Hanoka that Mao acted strongly last night, and grew a lot, thanking her for being the perfect mother, and says goodbye. Shin then recalls they were only supposed to take care of Mao for 1 month, which has already passed, and that makes Hanoka feel sad. Today is the last day of Hanoka parenting Mao, so they're all celebrating a goodbye party for Hanoka. Everyone praises her for doing a perfect job of being a mother to Mao. As Hanoka looks at Shin, she notices his sadness, knowing they won't be Mao's parents anymore. The caretaker says, it really went by so fast, and they start recalling memories of Mao from the first day he entered the nursery until now. The principal hopes Mao will bond well with his new mother. After the party, he thanks them for taking care of Mao for the whole month. Now, Hanoka says goodbye to him. While leaving, they look back at Mao, who is simply watching them. Hanoka says, Mao didn't cry as we left, and Shin replies, he won't understand, and probably thinks we'll be back to pick him up as usual. Hanoka tells Shin she had a great time with Mao. She starts recalling the moments she spent with him, and with teary eyes, she says she doesn't want to leave Mao. Shin holds her hand and says, okay, let's take back Mao. They run towards the nursery. As they reach there, the principal says, I knew Hanoka would definitely come back. Mao looks happy to see her again, and Hanoka is happy that she can continue to be his mother. The next day, the mothers all measured their babies. The principal then says, next month we will test their magical abilities. And Rai zaps the principal again, and is able to control his powers perfectly, amazing Hanoka and Natsuki. Shiroi taunts, it needs daily practice. Natsuki asks Hanoka to practice together, inviting Hanoka to her house. She introduces them to Karen's father, who's just her brother, but Hanoka feels a bit nervous while introducing herself. Natsuki's brother starts making fun of her, but Natsuki scolds him, saying not to behave like that. He says, I'm kidding. My name is Itsuki. He looks at Mao and asks him to come over, but Hanoka stops him. Itsuki teases, that's so unfriendly, which angers Shin, and he says to stop making fun of Hanoka. She feels touched that Shin protected her, and tears start flowing. Mao also starts crying him, so Shin tries to calm him. The next day at school, Hanoka is bullied again, but suddenly Itsuki appears and stops them. Hanoka thanks him for saving her, and Itsuki says, I guess you really do need Shin to protect you, or you can't do anything. After he leaves, Hanoka realizes that he's right, so she'll try to stop relying on Shin as much. After examining their baby's progress, Natsuki asks Hanoka if Shin is her boyfriend. She blushes and says they aren't dating, and she doesn't even know what love feels like. Natsuki tells her that love is when a person makes your heart throb. She then says that Shin is really reliable as Mao's father. Hanoka agrees that Shin always helps her with Mao, but suddenly remembers what Itsuki said and becomes sad. Mao, who just finished his practice, wonders why Hanoka is sad. Upon returning home, Shin asks her why she looks down, and she once again recalls Itsuki's words and says, "I'm fine." And Mao is confused. At night, while Hanoka is asleep, Mao wakes up and recalls seeing Hanoka sad. He then crawls towards his outfit and wears it, and begins practicing his magic. Hanoka wakes up and sees Mao practicing by himself, and starts crying as he's unable to improve. She grabs him, wondering why he was practicing. Shin also arrives after hearing him cry. Shin thinks Mao practiced to make Hanoka proud. She then realizes Mao was practicing because he thought she was sad about his magical progress. She hugs Mao and tells him, "It's not your fault. I was sad by what Itsuki said." Shin then says, "So Itsuki made you sad?" And she replies, "Itsuki is right. She was relying too much on Shin." Shin playfully hits her and says not to listen to others. "You can rely on me as much as you want." Hanoka feels good hearing this, and her heart throbs, just like what Itsuki had said. When you are in love with someone, and she wonders, "Am I in love with Shin?" Shin interrupts Hanoka while she's lost in thought and says, "Let's help Mao with his magic." He thinks maybe Mao struggles to control his magic due to the scary monster face of his costume, which triggers only strong magic. Hanoka says, "Okay, I'll change the scary face into something cute." Shin holds Mao saying, "I'm sure it'll work," and Mao smiles. Hanoka wishes they could always be together like this. After changing the costume's face, Mao is able to control his magic better, and everyone praises him. Natsuki looks sad as Karen is the only one left who struggles with magic. The principal says that the test is next week, so they have time to practice at least. Later, while playing with the caretaker, Mao sees Karen on Hanoka's lap as Hanoka is helping her in magic practice. Mao becomes jealous, pushing Karen away as he sits on Hanoka's lap, but she just puts him back with his caretaker, making him sad. Karen starts practicing again, and Mao wants Hanoka's attention, so he asks to put him in his dragon costume and tries to show his magic, but Hanoka doesn't notice, and Mao gets upset, breathing fire here and there. Hanoka stops him, but he feels even more sad, and cries louder. Later, at home, Hanoka tells Shin that she's going to Natsuki's home to help with Karen's magic costume, and Shin can take care of Mao. Mao looks sad as she leaves. When Hanoka comes back, she tells Shin, "Tomorrow I'll go again to help Karen with her magic," and Mao listens attentively. The next day when they look for Mao, he's not there, and they start searching, but can't find him at home. Hanoka thinks Mao might have wandered off outside like last time, but Shin points out that the door is closed. When they look towards the open window, Hanoka worries that Mao might have fallen from there, but Shin says he might have flown away. Natsuki calls Hanoka, asking why she isn't there yet, and Hanoka tells her everything. So Natsuki comes to help her find Mao. Now they all run through the streets calling for Mao. Back at home, Karen points towards a bag. Hanoka gets a call from Itsuki, as he'd found Mao. She's relieved to see Mao safe and wonders why he was in her bag. Natsuki says that maybe Mao climbed into her bag to go with her to Natsuki's place. Shin says Mao just wants to be with Hanoka all the time. She realizes that Mao has been feeling lonely lately since she's so involved with Karen, and apologizes to him while he's still sleeping. The next day, Hanoka holds Mao and tells him they'll cheer up Karen together during her practice. Mao feels good and starts cheering for Karen. Now all the devil babies can control their powers perfectly during the day of the magical ability test. Shiori is amazed the other babies are able to control their magic. The caretaker tells her it's because they practice together. The principal says that everyone gets full marks in the test. Shiori looks towards Hanoka and Natsuki, who appear very happy. Now the caretaker gives the mothers their baby's sleepover cassette, and the moms are excited to watch it. The next day, when Hanoka arrives at the nursery, Natsuki tells her that Shiori wants to stop being Rai's mother. Shiori then leaves him at the nursery and walks out. In the next scene, while Rai is playing with Mao, the caretaker says 1 week has passed and Shiori still hasn't returned for Rai, so they need to find a new mother for him. Upon hearing this, Hanoka says that she'll be Rai's mother too. They ask if she's serious, and Hanoka says that if Rai gets a new mother, Shiori won't be able to take him back, which would make Rai sad. Hanoka takes Rai along with Mao to her home, and tells Shin everything. Shin assures her they'll manage to care for both babies, and Hanoka feels happy. While holding them, Hanoka tells Shin she can't believe Shiori would leave her baby, whom she loved so much. Shin says he believes that Shiori will return for Rai. At night, both babies refuse to sleep and cause trouble by making the room dirty, spilling milk, and by running off, and running all over the place. Later, Mao and Rai play together in the sand, but Mao accidentally destroys the teddy they made, shocking them all. Mao starts crying and Hanoka and Shin get worried, but Rai starts comforting him. Shin says that Rai is acting like an older brother for Mao. Suddenly, Hanoka spots Shiori secretly watching Rai, but when she calls her, Shiori runs away. The next day, Hanoka makes new outfits for both Mao and Rai, but when Rai tries using his magic while wearing it, it doesn't work. So Hanoka puts his old pants back on him, and his magic works again. She realizes that the costume only works when it's made or bought by the baby's mother, so only Shiori's made costume will work for Rai. Hanoka meets Shiori and tells her Rai is waiting for her to take him back. Shiori then says that after watching the sleepover video, she doesn't want to be Rai's mother anymore, and slams the door in Hanoka's face. Well, that was rude. And with that, our story ends for now. If you want to know what happens next, give us 500 likes and we'll make the second part of this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time!